we do that as parents all the time, where we kind of take the opportunity away from our child because our fear, sometimes it's just we're not aware and we don't understand what we're doing. And sometimes our children are more sensitive than we even recognize.
Welcome to the Dad Central Show, the podcast that helps overwhelmed dads conquer stress, build confidence, and become the father their family brags about. Join Drew Soleyn, a leadership coach and father of 5, and Ed Gough Jr., a fatherhood advocate and contributor to the Good Men Project, as we guide you through the journey of fatherhood. We'll show you how to connect deeply with your family, manage your time and energy better, and master tools to become the dad you want to be. Let's get started. What is up, everybody? It's Ed Gough Jr. from Dad Central, and a man who I'm praying is going to enjoy the summertime.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
summer.
Yeah, there's no one else.
There's nothing not to enjoy about the summer.
Okay.
So absolutely, you don't even have to pray. It's done. I'm enjoying the summer.
That's good. That was one of the best openings we've ever done. All right, we do have fun here at Dad Central, a parenting podcast to reduce stress and build confidence in fatherhood. And our show is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Dove Men Plus Care believes that care is the best of a man, because when men care for themselves and others, there's a positive impact. And on today's episode, let me open up with this. In a world moving at lightning speed, how do we help our kids stay grounded, bounce back from setbacks, and handle pressure like champions? So some of the challenges our kids are dealing with today are social media, academic pressure, overstimulation, burnout. Yes, kids can burn out. And have you, this is my question for the dads when we start off today. Have you ever wondered if you're doing enough to help your child cope in a life that's filled with chaos? Drew, what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously resilience is important for everyone. I think dads definitely need their own resilience. But depending on where you're at on the spectrum of terrified of the future and what it's going to be, or what the future? Well, no big deal. I'm just worried about today. Everywhere along the line, our children are looking to or need us to provide them some guidance about how to navigate the world. And I don't know that there are many dads who don't want to see their children be successful. In fact, I know every dad that is listening has that same desire. I want to see my kid be successful. And many, they work so hard because they want to see their kids do better than they've done, or they want to set their kids up so that they don't have the same challenges that they've experienced. And so, I think of a story a few years ago. My kids were going through a difficult time. It was very shortly after the separation. Obviously, kids are going to struggle through that time. But this situation was, it was a hot August day. My daughters had just started writing about a month before, and they really loved it. And I think it was a great distraction for them through this difficulty they were experiencing. But because it was hot, their writing lesson was canceled. And that very minor, it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, incident turned into a major meltdown for both of my daughters, but one of the twins in particular. And obviously it was challenging for me to see them go through that. But the reality is every day our kids are facing challenges. And how are we as parents supporting or helping them learn how to move through those situations? So that story was, it was challenging for sure. And when we talk through the key points for dads in this episode, I'm hoping that you'll learn some things that you can apply both to your own life and your own resilience, but especially to help support your children as they face the difficulties that life will inevitably bring.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm going to put it out there to provide a dad-friendly definition of resilience. So short and sweet, resilience is getting knocked down, dusting yourself off, and saying, all right, let's try that again. Short, sweet, to the point. And then also want to encourage, reframe resilience as a skill that can be taught and modeled, not just something kids are born with. So we're going to look at 3 strategies today Three things, sorry, three practical strategies to build resilience, common pitfalls to avoid. Oh, actually, sorry, you know what? I'm going crazy. What is resilience? Why it matters? Three practical strategies to build resilience and common pitfalls to avoid. So let's talk about resilience, Drew. What do you want to say about resilience?
To add to what you said there's two TV shows I'm going to reference that I think create a great picture of resilience. First one is a movie called Cinderella Man. It's the story of James J. Braddock way back in the Depression era, of a man who faced significant challenges, yet, as you said, got knocked down many, many times, yet every single time got back up. And not only got back up, cared for the people around him, modeled an amazing strength of character, and lived in a way that is admirable, and why I think the movie Cinderella Man was even made. So that's one example. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. It was very powerful for me, who had an internal desire to be, that type of man. Second is Suits. I totally forget. The two main characters, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be gapping on the lawyer's name, but he's not the young cocky guy with the amazing memory. He's the other guy. If you ask me, that the way he was portrayed modeled resilience. No matter what potentially came, took a deep breath and was essentially, I'm going to figure it out. We're going to move through this. And then he got to work. So those are the two examples that come to mind when I think about resilience. Hopefully dads can relate to that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of studies out there if you want to go online and look at, the benefits of resilience are better mental health, stronger social skills. And I just want to, before we leave this point, do you agree that resilience can be taught as a skill? And do you have any examples that you have used with your kids or are using with your kids in regards to teaching
100%.
resilience?
Yeah, 100%. It's a learned skill. Yes, there are character traits that may predispose somebody to having a willingness to go through some difficulties differently, but it is absolutely a learned skill. And so the example of, what was the second part of the question?
Oh,
Do I have
like, do
examples?
you have any example? Yeah, do you have any examples that you have used with any of your kids in regards to building resilience?
What I find works well is when I share personal stories of when I was younger, when I went through difficulties similar to what they may be expressing, the difficulty they're feeling right now. And I talked to them about what it felt like, and then the one thing that I did, or whoever spoke to me, or whatever influence I had, and the message that was given to me that helped me move through it. So I find that's the way that I default to, because I just think the kids relate more to stories. And I often get things like, "What, you had to go through that?" It's like
There
they're
you
shocked that I
go.
actually had, one, I was ever young like them, and two, that I actually ever had to face what they're facing, because they see me as so old. So if nothing else, it's the shock factor that gets their attention. And then two, I'm hoping that the message somehow lands. And I do get every now and then a great, I see them actually applying something that I may have shared with them. So that's how I go for it.
I think we have to do an episode. What do you do if your kids think you're old? Episode. That's a good. That is. Oh, I would love a live cam when they ask you. They treat you like that. True. That sounds very, very cool. Let's move to our next.
I just got to keep my hair cut short so they don't see the grays coming out, because that's when they pick on it even more.
Well, you can always shave. Go clean like me, buddy. Just a thought. Just a thought. Yeah. All right, let's talk about it. Next conversation piece: 3 practical strategies to build resilience. Drew, give us 3.
Well, I've been on this train for many, many years now, but the number one strategy is you've got to model it yourself. And when I say it, you have to regulate your own emotions. And the reason being is that kids learn by watching. That old adage, much more is caught than taught. So you are essentially a mirror for them. And if they observe you flying off the handle, having your own, adult tantrum, being intolerant, impatient, nasty, rude, harsh to others in the face of your own difficulties, they are then going to reflect that in how they handle difficult circumstances. So, number one, we have to care for ourselves and process and regulate our emotions. So we've got lots of resources, lots of you know uh, guidance on how to do that through many of our resources at Dad Central. But I'd say the number one, well, two practical things for this to model emotional regulation: breathing. It takes you out of the fight, flight, or freeze and allows you to actually access your higher order thinking as opposed to reacting out of emotion. That's one practical strategy. And two, being able to actually process your emotions in healthy ways as opposed to stuffing them, ignoring them, medicating them in unhealthy ways through drugs or alcohol or smoking or other illicit activities. You know, making healthy choices around processing those emotions. Ed, what else?
We also have create safe spaces to fail. And I always like to say failure is a moment, failure is not a person. So embrace mistakes as teaching moments. And Drew just shared, he shares stories from his own life when he was younger. I'm going to put that in now, when failure led to growth. So I think that's a really good point. I don't know if you want to add anything to that in regards to failure leading to growth, because I know you're very passionate about that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a crucial point. Safe spaces are built off of vulnerability, authenticity, and trust. And so that is an important role that you have as a parent to ensure that your children have those feelings when in relationship with you. Physical safety is obviously important, but what we're referring to here is emotional and psychological safety. If children don't know that it's okay to fail, if you can't model the fact that I failed or I made a mistake, but it's okay and I'm not a bad person, and you don't beat yourself up and hold yourself in contempt and then make it about everyone else around you and being angry, if you're doing those types of things, you're not really modeling a safe space even for yourself. So it's a really important aspect here. So I just want to say, focus on that.
And also, we want to add promote problem solving and the independence. So resist the urge to rescue too quickly. Ask guiding questions instead of giving answers. And one of the things I love with kids is give them space, give them time to figure it out. If they can't figure it out, yes, but give them time and space to figure out. And I think it's also good with adults too, giving people time and space, because I'm a firm believer that most people can come up with the answers if they're given the time and space. And also encourage downtime and unstructured play. There's the word, play, to help kids recharge. Anything you want to add before we move on, Drew, with those things?
Yeah, I think this one is more of a dad's strength, I'd say, than not. I think dads are often very quick to promote independence or support problem solving. Where I think dads can maybe over index on this strength of theirs is that they leave their kids to flounder too long, or they don't give them an adequate support system in their problem solving or independence, meaning that they give them no guidance at all. And they give them no understanding that they're actually here with them. Even if they go and do it on their own, I'm here to help you should you fail, should you fall. So I think that's where I would encourage dads who are like, yeah, man, I do that. Like I leave my kids off, I help them figure, like I say, go, no, you figure it out on your own. Those are good things, but we need to remember children, especially based on age and stage, they need some form of guidance. The old adages of I do, I model first, we do, so we do it together, then you do. So you should think about that step-by-step process of, and I get caught in this sometimes. Now, part of that is my older daughter, I expect certain things because she's a certain age, but then I have to remember she hasn't had the same, this is my stepdaughter in particular, she hasn't had the same, upbringing as my kids have done. And so I can't have the expectation that she's here when I need to do the stage 1, stage 2 with her so that she can then get to stage 3. So being mindful of that is an area that I would encourage dads to look at in the process of promoting problem-solving independence, which I know most dads are probably great at that.
And the final of the three we're going to cover today, common pitfalls to avoid. Drew, any thoughts?
Yeah. So on the flip side of that strength of being, hey, go to it, you guys are good to go, is overprotective. Like, kind of the helicopter parent or the bubble parents, like, nope, no, don't take any risk. And some parents are like this. They have a fair amount of anxiety and fear with good reason, as we understand the challenge of this chaotic world can literally make you want to say, well, I got to protect my kids, which is a good, important thing to do. But making sure that you are not taking opportunities away from your child to learn and grow independence, because it actually helps build their confidence. So example of this might be, let's say my 2-year-old as an example, she helps with emptying the dishwasher, right? And yes, sometimes there's sharp items in there. And so do I like hover over and be like, oh no, she can't have that? Or just be like, nope, nope, you can't help it all, like push her away. That's maybe a little bit too overprotective. You just have to be mindful and pay attention to what is she taking or what can I give her. I mean, it's kind of a silly example, but the reality is we do that as parents all the time, where we kind of take the opportunity away from our child because our fear, our concern for their well-being, and we think that, oh no, I've got to do this. So just overprotection can sometimes be a limiting factor for your child as opposed to a growth factor. What
Yeah.
about you, Ed? You
And
got some ideas here for
adding,
dads?
adding on to that, we're talking about the overword, overscheduling. When just putting too many activities rob kids of emotional space. And let's think about ourselves. If we overschedule ourselves, we get tired, we get frustrated. So many non-productive results happen when you overschedule. One thing we need to take, kids are people too, so don't overschedule them. And also a big one is shaming mistakes instead of normalizing. I have been in situations where dads have shamed their kids, and it's very, very challenging to a young person. Again, I always like to reflect back to the dad. Say you were your child in that situation, how would you feel? So it's a very, very important thing. And it's not, hey, no one is perfect. We have our moments, but normalizing mistakes, it's human to make a mistake. Julie, before we wrap up, do you want to add anything to what I just shared, those 2 points?
Just from a lived experience, that last point is very important. Uh, I
Mhm.
will add that it is very damaging to children
Yes,
when you
long
shame them.
term.
It is very damaging. And so if you're a dad and you may not even intend to shame your child. So don't get us wrong here. Sometimes it's learned behavior. Sometimes it's just kind of, we've grown up with it. Sometimes sometimes it's just, we're not aware and we don't understand what we're doing. And sometimes our children are more sensitive than we even recognize. So there are many factors going on here. So the point here is that, but it is damaging to their overall growth and development, as well as their self-concept and their self-identity. So if you happen to catch yourself or think that you may be doing things that are shaming your child, I really want to encourage you, really do some self-reflection, some evaluation, and think about what positive strategies can I focus on in terms of acknowledging effort and praising for effort and giving good feedback, but not shaming our children.
100%. All right, as you wrap it up today, we covered 3 things. What is resilience? Why it matters. We also, Drew gave 3, we gave 3 practical strategies to build resilience. And then finally, common pitfalls to avoid. So some wrap up and some encouragement. Resilience isn't inherited. It's built, and dads play a key and vital role in the process. And modeling calm responses and allowing kids to face challenges helps them grow stronger. And then also, small intentional parenting shifts can create lasting emotional strength in children. And a quote here at the end as encouragement: you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to be present and intentional. Drew, call to action.
Well, before I do the call to action, I'm going to go back to that opening story. I can tell you, I didn't get that situation perfect, where my daughters were freaking out over the fact that, their riding was canceled. But what I have done is I've continued to learn try new things and learn from the things that I'm trying. So you don't have to get it perfect, but as long as you keep moving closer, as my coach used to say, what if you just got 1% better each day? That, well, how much better would you be at the end of the year or even over this next month? 1% better each day. So encouragement to you dads is, and your call to action is, what is your 1% when it comes to helping your children become more resilient children? That's your takeaway, Ed.
Do we have any resources for our family here who are watching or listening to us?
Yeah, this dadcentral.ca/7-step guide to stop yelling, essentially. So,
Beautiful.
because sometimes what ends up happening is we get frustrated, we get challenged, we get triggered, and that actually puts our own selves in a very unresilient state and can lead to our children not being very resilient. So I think that's our resource that is for dads to take away.
Excellent. Well, as always, want to thank everyone for taking the most valuable thing in their lives, listening to us, taking the time to listen to us. And we'll always say we don't take it for granted. We appreciate it as always. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, and we'll see you soon. Be well.